I'm fired up today, Falcons fans, and not in the motivational sort of way. I got a little bit of a bone to pick with some Falcons fans on today's episode of Falcons Today by Chat Sports. Welcome in. My name is Moose. And first things first, we have to talk about what Jeff Ulbrich said at his press conference yesterday. And trust me, all of that is going to bleed into why I am fired up. So on today's show, exactly what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what Jeff Ulbrich talked about for the most part in his press conference with the Dirty Birds. Now, he did bring up James Pierce Jr. very briefly. We'll touch on him on the back half of this episode. But he did stress the importance of re-signing Kaden Elliss, and that's going to be kind of the main topic, the main focus of today's video as well. But like I said, I got a bone to pick with some of you fans. I think it's high time I respond to some of the recent criticism I've faced about Kaden Elliss. Oh, and by the way, I have receipts. So in case you were thinking that I'm just going to pull something out of my you-know-what, think again, because I am putting everybody on blast today. Now, before we start with that, got to ask you to do me a quick favor. In the event that you think that Jeff Ulbrich is the right man for the job, I do. I'm hitting my thumbs up icon for having Jeff Ulbrich back. If you're happy that he is back as the DC for the Dirty Birds, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up icon. So, Jeff Ulbrich was asked directly about what it means to have Kaden Elliss on this team. And Ulbrich's exact quote was this: the player that he gave us is the player that he is gives us this really unique flexibility. He gave us some rare multiplicity within the defense, and I would love to have him back. To replace Kaden would take more than one human being. Now, I want to be very clear about this. I am a Kaden Elliss fan. I want the Falcons to re-sign Kaden Elliss. I think everybody misses that. They just want to give their 2 cents because it fits their narrative. But on the last video that I made, you can clearly see I say I would like to re-sign Kaden Elliss. Multiple times I said it. I made a trade candidate video yesterday about tagging Kaden Elliss and trading him in the event that you don't use the franchise tag on Kyle Pitts, or if Kaden Elliss is not thinking about re-signing, right? So if Kaden Elliss wants to explore free agency and leave Atlanta, and you're not going to use the franchise tag on Kyle Pitts, then I would use it on Kaden Elliss. You can see clearly, time-stamped right here. There's yesterday's Moose. Re-sign Kaden Elliss. Okay, there's number one. And yet somehow, when I bring up the fact that, okay, if we don't re-sign Kaden Elliss and we want to get some value back for him leaving, we could tag and potentially trade him for a 5th-round pick. That was my ultimate take. If you can't re-sign him, if he doesn't want to come back, tag him and trade him so you get some value back. And I was met with nothing but criticism. Here are the screenshots. Here's the receipts. Trading Kaden Elliss for a 5th-round pick is complete lunacy. Trading Elliss is crazy work. Thank you, Berkman. And then this one right here. Elliss deserves a 3 or 4 year contract. A little rich for my taste, but again, I understand the multi-year deal. I think he at his position can play into his mid-30s, and there's no way they should trade him unless someone offers a 3rd-round pick or higher, which no one is. He's more valuable than a 5th-round pick, who is unlikely to be more of a rotational piece or a special teams player, whereas Elliss is a starter and will be for a minimum of 2 years, barring injury. Do you guys keep up with linebacker trades at all? Serious question. Where are you getting these numbers from? You are completely overvaluing the linebacker position. And I get it. Kaden Elliss is a great player. But let's just go back to 2025. This last season, a very notable trade happened between an inside linebacker, who Kaden Elliss is better than, by the way. I'll admit that. Logan Wilson gets traded from the Cincinnati Bengals to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 7th-round pick, starting caliber linebacker. Well, Moose, that's not a great example. Kaden Elliss is already way better than him, so give me something better. Fine. Here you go. Here's all the transactions, the trade transactions at the linebacker position. Logan Wilson got traded for a 7th. Draymond Jones, who's more of an edge rusher, went for a 6th. Jalen Phillips went for a 3rd. Keon White, 6th. Odafe Owe, 6th. Kenneth Murray, 6th. So all of these are not fetching anything higher than like a 6th or a 7th round pick. Now, the one player that most closely resembles Kaden Elliss is Kenneth Murray. They play very similarly. They're both kind of like a hybrid, drop back in coverage, also play at the line of scrimmage, can do both. Kenneth Murray, before he got traded to the Dallas Cowboys, was on the Tennessee Titans. And remember, he got traded for a 6th round pick. We'll just sit here for a second on this graphic real quick there, Gage. Take a note of what Kenneth Murray's 2024 stats look like versus Kaden Ellis' 2025 stats. So this was the season right before Kenneth Murray got traded. These are almost identical numbers, except for the blitzes. Kaden Ellis blitzed way more and still ended up with the exact same amount of sacks. And Kenneth Murray went for a 6th round pick. So the fact that I'm valuing Kaden Ellis as a 5th round pick is spot on, and it might even be a little generous. So to call me a lunatic for submitting a trade value that's actually a little bit higher than what he projected go as, and by the way, he's not a spring chicken. So he's not 24 or 25 years old. So the fact that you guys are coming at me, do me a favor, Gage, bring up those screenshots again. Like, I don't know where you're coming up with these fucking values. I really don't. 5th round pick is complete lunacy. Is it? Is it? Trading Ellis is crazy. Is it? Because if you don't re-sign him, you don't get shit for him. So actually, franchise tagging him makes a lot of sense, and then trading him off if you don't want to pay the $22 million linebacker tag. It makes perfect sense. Like, where do you guys come up with these numbers? I don't get it. 3 or 4 year contract, I could live with a 3-year contract. But to suggest that the guy is going to get a 3rd round pick is absolutely insanity. It's absolute insanity. He's not getting that. You'd be very willing to get a 5th round pick, which, by the way, we don't have in the 2026 NFL draft for Kaden Ellis. And all of this is a moot point if he just decides to move on anyway. So coming up next, I'm going to tell you why I think Ellis will get re-signed by the Atlanta Falcons. And again, going back to earlier in this episode, the episode before, I want him back on the team. Before we do that, though, I got to tell you about my friends over at Harry's. Listen, as the hairiest guy you know, I shaved up a little bit, cleaned up a little bit for date night last night. It ended up being not quite what we thought, but we still had a lot of fun. You got to get in on Harry's, my friends. It is the best product for your personal grooming habits. Your old razor dulls way too quickly. It irritates your neck, and it costs way too much. Harry's can offer all of that stuff for a fraction of the cost with Harry's Plus. It is the heaviest razor handle ever, made from metal, never plastic, designed to fit comfortably in your hand, and it means more control and a luxe feel. They don't just make razors, though. They've got a full line of grooming essentials, from shave gel to deodorant to body wash, all thoughtfully made and priced up to stock. All of Harry's blades, by the way, and grooming products can be delivered right to your door. So set your preferred schedule and never run out of blades again. For a limited time, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, 1 refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer, and after you purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them that we sent you. Okay, so let's be very, very clear about the rest of this Ulbrich presser, that they were asking him about James Pierce Jr., and obviously, he said, I was very disappointed. Then they asked him, are you going to be preparing for the 2026 season without James Pierce Jr.? And he said, it's too early to tell, which, you know, usually is a bad sign, because, like, if you're leaving it open-ended like that, that means it's a legitimate possibility that he's not going to play on the team next year, which I said I still don't think, based off of the charges that he's facing, that he'll play for the team next year. So you got to prepare for no JPJ in 26. That's just the truth. You can't skirt around it. You got to live with it, You got to live with the uncomfortable fact that a guy that you traded back up for in the first round is most likely not going to play for you next season, which would be his second year. So with no JPJ, you could shift Kaden Elliss, by the way, to more of an edge player and even justify a bump in pay if you wanted. I've been on this for months that if you made, and at the time it was make it the big three with Jalen Walker, James Pierce Jr., and Kaden Elliss. But now it's even more important to get another pressure player. And Kaden Elliss has shown multiple times that he can do that and create pressure. He's excellent at it. He ranked second out of a qualifying 62 linebackers in pass rush win rate. So making Kaden Elliss a edge in this next season can actually be a good thing because your potential pass rushers, your core five, would kind of look like this. Jalen Walker, Brandon Dorless, Kaden Elliss, Zach Harrison, and LaCale London. And LaCale London is actually a restricted free agent. So if he decides to go anywhere else, the Falcons can match it and have exclusive rights to his contract. And speaking of free agency, even more of a reason why you need to re-sign Kaden Elliss, they have 17 unrestricted free agents this year. The Falcons do. How many are you prepared to lose? How many, Matt Ryan? How many, Ian Cunningham? How many of them are you willing to part ways with? Because 17 players is a lot. Now, not all of these guys are guaranteed to make the 53-man roster, but I would say probably 12 or 13 of them did make the 53-man roster. So I put up a list of 6 players that are must re-signs, in my opinion. Kaden Elliss, obviously. Zane Gonzalez, I think he absolutely deserved the next year that the Falcons would give him based off of what he did in the 25 season. David Onyemata, who's an unrestricted free agent. Now that JPJ's gone, I would re-sign him in a heartbeat. Khalid Kareem, excellent defensive rotational piece and special teamer. I would re-sign D. Alford as a rotational player and also Sam Roberts for some depth on that defensive line as well. So 6 out of the 17 unrestricted free agents I would re-sign in a heartbeat. A heartbeat. And I'll make one more point very clear. For players and teams, I'll go with teams in this, with teams that have multiple unrestricted free agents, usually they can justify losing more players because they have a multitude of draft picks, right? Like if a team has 9 to 10 draft picks, you can kind of supplant all of those players that you're losing with the draft. Well, the Falcons only have 5 draft picks. Now, you could always end up with more if you trade down or trade away some players, which is why if you are going to tag Kaden Elliss, if you don't use it on Kyle Pitts, you could get a 5th. This makes sense. So I'm not saying things just to rage bait you guys. I want to be very, very clear. With only 5 picks, you have to be diligent about the players that you could potentially lose. You have to identify trade value in the players that are unrestricted free agents, because if you don't and they walk, you get nothing. Nothing for them. Kaden Elliss could sign with the Broncos tomorrow. He could sign with the Bengals tomorrow. He could sign with any team if he so chose to, if he didn't like the offer that was put on his plate by the Atlanta Falcons. So, what are you going to do? Now, again, if you tag Kyle Pitts, you just got to hope that your offer is sufficient enough. Either way, I'll leave you with this question. Name a Falcons unrestricted free agent that you would re-sign. Today is February 13th. The tag window opens up in 4 days, which means free agency at the time of this recording opens up in 24 days. So we got 3.5 weeks until we make all of these decisions. So make sure that you're locked in by hitting that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that thumbs up icon. Sorry that I had to come after a couple folks today, but I don't like being called a lunatic. I don't like being called an idiot or a clown. And if you're willing to put that out on the internet, I have every right to take those screenshots and fire back. So I'm going to do so as I see fit because, again, it's not about being right. It's about getting it right. And hopefully, I think the Atlanta Falcons re-sign Kaden Elliss, and then we would all get it right. Until next time, rise up and be cool.